Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Living a Dynamic Life. I'm Miriam Louise Curtis and I'm here to help you to live a dynamic life. I'll be introducing on the show, for those of you that have not tuned in earlier, holistic therapists, motivational speakers, and basically people who've maybe gone through the dark night of the soul but have tools in their kit and have tools in their kit to inspire you. So over to today's guest, Pauline Tomlin, motivational speaker, life coach, author, and no doubt a lady who's going to be adding several other bows, string to the bow rather,
I'd like to think
in
so.
the coming months and the coming years. So just before the break we were talking about the law of attraction.
Yes.
Where we put our thoughts, that's what we actually create.
Yes.
And certainly for myself, I'm very mindful now, which goes back to the Sufi tradition and many of the traditions in Buddhism of meditation and things like that. So how do you use the law of attraction?
For people like yourselves and myself, I think it's automatic now, but it starts with just having one positive thought. You mentioned before the break, those people are really struggling, they may be in a really kind of difficult, challenging place at the moment. I would just say start with yourself. Start with one positive thought about yourself. If you can, start with a list of 10 things that I really like about myself, because you find that once you have a positive thought, I'm sure physiologically the scientists can tell me which hormone is secreted, but it secretes a positive feel-good hormone within you. That makes you want more of it, and so you think of another positive thought, and then you think of another positive thought. And just like when you make a snowball and it starts out really tiny and then you roll it in the snow and it attracts more and more snow, and before you know it you've got this massive, it's the same thing with the thoughts. And yes, you'll have moments where you slip back into a negative thought, but what will happen is that will become such a contrast and feel so uncomfortable compared to the positive thoughts that you'll do less and less of that. And like I said, you'll get into this process where these positive thoughts are just rolling out. And when you do catch yourself judging, you'll quickly change it into a positive one. So I remember once I was walking over a bridge in Leeds, I think I was with one of my children, and they were like, oh, I hate tramps, because there was a gentleman who was begging on the street. And I said, well, first of all, that's not for you to say. I think it's not a very nice thing to do because you're judging someone. I said, but hasn't he got a beautiful smile? Just that in itself. And they went, oh yeah. And next thing you know, we were talking about the positives, and then they were talking about this poor gentleman about, well, perhaps it wasn't his fault that he's ended up in that position and all of that. Although the more work you do in the law of attraction, the more you know that he did attract it. However, that wasn't for me to say. But it's just things like try and look for what's good, because it's easy to be miserable, but who wants to feel miserable? Who wants to sit with a glum face and feeling really quite bad inside? And then if you pick up too many of those negative thoughts, then you're going to create disease within your body, because those negative thoughts are not going anywhere. So they're just causing your cells to vibrate in a negative way, and that means eventually you're going to end up ill. So quite frankly, I want to be old. I want to be here a long, long time. I'm having a great time of it. So I tell the boys at school I'm going to be 120 at least. They go, you can't say that, miss. I go, yes, I can, because if I keep being positive, but however long Allah decides to give me, I'm grateful for every single moment of it. But just start with one positive thought, and start with a positive thought about yourself, and then the next time you encounter someone, what can I say that's positive about this person? What can I say that's positive about the food that I'm eating, or my neighbour, or, and you'll find that it just starts to multiply.
An attitude of gratitude within law of attraction is really, really important, isn't it? And kind of universally, as we send that attitude of gratitude up to the universe, then we tend to attract more of the same anyway, if we're obviously moaning and whimpering around and playing the victim. And every time we have a thought, we actually have a conscious choice. And I think certainly for me, one of the things that has turned a lot of people's lives around when I treat them, or I'm just generally having a chat with them on the life coaching and things, is kind of, when we've had life lessons, and you and I have both been through.
Oh, a few.
Yes, several life lessons. And argumentative divorces, let's put it that way. It's a conscious choice to kind of play the victim then, or to think, what was I there to learn from that? And kind of turning it around on a soulful basis, because obviously essentially we are the soul.
Yes.
And that's how we get back to source, God, Allah.
Yeah.
And most people are asleep to that. And as you said before, the word success to me means being able to inspire more people. I'm writing the second book now. And all of the people that have read the first one have said it's addictive, they can't put it down, they've learnt so much. And by sharing the story and introducing the law of attraction and other spiritual values and spiritual laws in there, that they've really gathered so much information from there. It's certainly a book that's very, very different to any other book. What kind of books have influenced you over the years?
Oh, gosh. So, well, when you asked me that question, I didn't realise how many spiritual texts and readings I've done, because it is a journey, and so you don't clock it up. It's not like a race or you want to have the biggest collection. And I realised over the years there have been quite a few, but the one that started me off really on my spiritual journey was The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. I'm not quite sure, I can't really recount how I encountered the book, but when I read it, I realised its fundamental message was that we completely control our lives. We are in charge of it, but also it confirmed for me something that I kind of knew, but I couldn't quite put a handle on it, was that there is guidance out there. But for me, it wasn't translating in a religious perspective, but that there is a universe that is supportive and it's there for all of us. And that then led me on a journey of kind of trying to find out more about this. I think another book that I read after that was Ask and It Is Given, and that's very much about the law of attraction, and that's by Jerry and Esther Hicks. And that was an amazing book which talked about how what you say and then what you think, what you say and then do, put into action, is what is pulled to you. I mean, if we assume that the universe is a yes universe, it will say yes to everything you say. So if I say I'm depressed, it'll say, all right then, and it'll give you more depression. If you say I am abundant, or if you say I am happy, it'll say all right then, and it'll give you more of that. It always gives you yes. So you've got to be mindful that what I'm putting out there, the universe is going to say yes to. And if you don't want it, don't.
You've actually got, we were discussing before, and I asked you to bring in any other books that have actually influenced you.
Yeah.
Can you just quickly go through those titles? Because I'm aware that you've actually written a book as well, and certainly from the sound of it, I'm looking forward to a really good read.
Okay, good.
But can you just tell us a little bit very quickly about those books you've got there,
Absolutely.
please?
I mean, we mentioned The Alchemist, which was my start. But in addition to that, I think I found this in an old bookshop by Osho, and I think you told me today that he's
Osho's
actually
one of my favourite writers.
A Sufi, which
absolutely.
I wasn't aware of. But this is the one, you can see it's a bit battered, curled, because this is the one I keep going back to. If I have something that's challenging me that I need an answer to, and it's something that's troubling me, I'm not quite sure where I sit, I nearly always get a reply from this one. I just kind of sit with it, open a page, and invariably what comes off the page is something that gives me the guidance, or there's a...
So you just kind of pick the book up.
Yeah, I'll sit with it for a while, and I'll just
open
trust, and I'll say, what is it I really need to hear? What is it I really need to learn? So that's one, great one. In addition, Conversations with God. Now this is book 2, because I've loaned book 1 out, but book 1 I go back to a lot in the similar way that I do with the kind of Courage and...
It's a great book.
Osho. Fantastic book. And again, it's got so many truths in it. I would say to someone as well, when you're reading something or you've decided you need to follow a more spiritual path, not everything will resonate with you. Don't beat yourself up about that, okay? You just take the truths that are relevant for you, because as you go on your journey, more and more will be revealed to you. You know, like we were saying earlier, you know, when the student is ready, the master appears.
I think that's a really important point, and I totally agree, because obviously being a teacher now, because obviously I teach Reiki and I have done, and I've had some phenomenal students who've gone off and had lots of miracles on their own. It's very, very true that, you know, when the student's ready, in other words, when we're ready to take, maybe, is it the blue pill or the red pill in the Matrix, where you wake up to coming out of the doom and gloom of life and the social and political and religious pressure and the protocol that we're under. But I think that's really important, because obviously we're here to get people to take the pill and reconnect and to remember our actual essence and remember who we really, really, really are. And that's what these books are for. Now, obviously Conversations with God is one of my favourites. You may have also read Celestine Prophecy.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a really, really good one.
Is it Redfield?
Yes, James Redfield.
Yeah.
But you've actually written a book as well, haven't you?
I have, yes. I'm about to finish what is going to be an ebook, and it's going to be available on my blog page. So that will be out within the next couple of weeks. And it's called Divine Whispers. And the reason I called it Divine Whispers was because I was just sitting at home one day thinking about, you know, the divine and God, and just really grateful for the fact that I have this connection, and my life is just so wonderful as a result of it. And then it suddenly hit me that actually the films that we see and are often like showing you that God or Allah will speak to you in this real great thunderclap and there's lightning and it's always really dramatic. And I just thought, actually, no, God speaks to you in whispers.
It is whispers, having experienced it so often.
It's just this, and it's when you are quietening yourself, when you're being more mindful, that voice just comes through. And I'm telling you something, it's a very persistent voice. If you don't listen, it just keeps telling you, listen, this is the way you should be going. This is what's good for you. This is what's good for your soul. This is what should be happening, until you finally get it, you know. And if you don't get it, unfortunately, you'll probably have quite a severe lesson.
The universe,
as a result.
And many people find spirituality through illness, don't they?
Absolutely.
Where their back's against the wall.
Absolutely.
And there's nowhere else that they can go. They've tried everything else. They may have tried the drugs or the alcohol or maybe just the antidepressants, and we all know. And unfortunately, it's a very disempowering society, perhaps, where the doctors, and they're under so much pressure. It's the easiest thing to just say, well, you know, just have some antidepressants and kind of go home and twiddle your thumbs for the rest of your life. But I think, as you say, you know, those times, and there is a Sufi quote as well, that a man who is at his weakest is actually at his strongest, because that's the decision to change. So I'm assuming, rightly or wrongly, that your hope is that your book is about change.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I've done within the book, it's almost like a framework for my presentations and workshops, because there's so much you could write. You could keep writing forever. Even just my own life story and the examples and what I've learned, I could carry on writing forever, and I'm probably going to do that one afterwards. But this is just a condensed insight in 8 stages as to how I've gained some insights, and then some exercises as to how you can do the same and make some changes. And funnily enough, you talk about change. My first blog post is actually encountered change. And it isn't until we consciously decide to change. Everything has to change. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are very afraid of change. They get change, very comfortable, and they like things to be the way they are. But if you don't change, you can't evolve. The example I give is, look, I have 3 children, and they're the best thing ever. Honestly, I'm so honoured and grateful to have those souls to be given to me as my children. And I thank God for them every single day. But if my body hadn't changed, if my hormone levels hadn't changed, if I hadn't grown, then I wouldn't have had the beauty of that. And it's through the changes, through the darkness, when you come through the other end and you come through that change, that's when you're born again. That's when you are new, renewed, and rebirthed, joyous, living more joyously, more purposefully, and more abundantly. And it's amazing.
And I think it's fascinating, certainly from my work, you know, when you get people to realise that there's another way of being, another way of living, and we kind of start releasing through the Reiki, acupressure, reflexology, you know, maybe reading a spiritual book. And what I find sad is that so many people choose to maybe, forgive me because we're on the television, but kind of spend mundane hours and procrastinate. Well, I can't do it because I'm watching Coronation Street or EastEnders. And it's that positive change, isn't it? It's that decision to stick with it. I listen to Tony Robbins quite a lot, and he's a real inspiration, isn't he? And one of the things with Tony is that he was saying people make a decision to change, and a lot of people, obviously we're into April now, but you know, in January people might join the gym, New Year's resolutions, and within 14 days, 21 days, they've stopped going. And I think that for people like you and I, basically, I couldn't imagine living my life any different way than looking at the miracles every single day.
Absolutely.
You know, the students that I meet, the people that I meet, and of course we're going back to law of attraction here. It wasn't always like that. when I teach Reiki 1, which is the beginning stage of Reiki, people then come and say, well, that person who was upsetting me or that situation suddenly gone out of my life. And this is real law of attraction in practice, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So what's on your law of attraction for your future? Because obviously you have said that maybe, and I do feel sometimes that we have a natural expiry in our lives, maybe of teaching, and for me I expired the civil service and obviously became self-employed.
Yes.
So where is it you're moving from, and what is it you want to move into?
Well, as I said, I'm currently a head of English. I really feel, and I've been hearing the whispers for the last year, 18 months, that says you need to move on, you need to move on. It starts as just a feeling of disquiet, a feeling that there's a need for a shift. You're not quite sure how it articulates, and I've been feeling that for quite some time. So I just said, okay, if I need to shift, show me what it is I need to move into, and that's all I kept asking for. What kept happening was, my heart was saying to me, well, it'd be quite nice to maybe be a motivational speaker, to coach people to live their best lives as well, because I felt I have made an impact here with these children. Next thing I know, I'm in class, and I give one of my speeches, because I get on my pulpit a little bit sometimes, you know, to tell them, like, someone, this is how we should be treating each other, etc. And one boy said, you should be a motivational speaker, miss. Then I went to London, maybe a month or so later. I was talking to a friend who'd be going through a really bad time in their relationship, and I was just an ear. I'm often the ear for my friends, and that's the nature of me. And after about an hour and a half, 2 hours of talking, he said, God, you should be a life coach, you know. So that was coming through, and I thought, okay, the whispers have started. This is where the universe is directing me, and it was something that had occurred to me. I do believe the universe will send you the vision, you know, and the universe and Allah's vision for you is far greater than you could ever imagine. And it feels right as well. If something feels right inside, it's usually the right thing to do. So much as I love teaching, and I'm going to be desperately unhappy, I've made the conscious decision that I have to trust that the universe is saying, this is your next role. Your next role is to speak in a wider forum, to access more people and help more people step into their best lives through speaking, through writing, and through coaching. So that's what the future holds for me. It's not a path that's clear. It's not, you know, I don't have a job to step into, but I finish completely in my profession in the summer, and I'm so excited. That's the other thing that living spiritually gives you, I think. It gives you an excitement.
The trust, doesn't it? And,
yes.
and the kind of, I always say to people, you know, what will change and as we evolve is the going with the flow in life.
Yes.
And of course, there's only the salmon that swims upriver.
Yes.
And it only does it when it needs to. And we tend to think of a river as a straight line, which obviously it's not. You know, there's humps and bumps, there's curves, and, you know, I think with law of attraction, one of the big things is looking for your coincidences, as you saw, you know, listening out for a certain piece of music or a certain book that inspires you. And somebody just, you overhear a conversation in a coffee shop, you know, and somebody just says one thing. And it is about being open to that, because I think when we're in the place of perhaps doom and gloom, we're not always aware, we're asleep, we're disconnected.
Yes.
And one of the things when I'm teaching Reiki and when I'm working with people is getting them to remember who they really are. And we were talking before about Rumi, and the beautiful verses, because obviously you'd not been introduced to Rumi until
very recently.
Until very recently.
Said,
But I was just, I just want to refer to this because it's very, very beautiful, and we went through it on ideas. It's very touching. The root of yourself, and certainly for both of us, what we're here to do is allow people to be the root of who they are. But there's a beautiful quote here, that you are a ruby embedded in granite. How long will you pretend that isn't true? And you had a choice to stay embedded in the granite.
Yes.
And now it really does sound like you are choosing to be the ruby.
Absolutely. I'm a diamond, actually. I mean, one of the analogies I do use with the children is that they are diamonds. And I just say, listen, when you first pull a diamond out of the earth, first of all, it's buried deep. Yeah. Anything that's of value that the earth produces, like the precious stones, are buried really deep. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of earth on top of it. Okay. And you bring them to the surface and they're all dirty and, you know, chipped and the awkward edges. In order to get that diamond, say for like something like this, it has to be polished, and it has to be polished hard. There's a lot of abrasion before that diamond sparkles and glistens. And the trials that we go through in life, that's simply God polishing you up. So when I'm going through something really challenging, I sometimes go, okay, God, you're polishing me up. And I know I can get through it, yeah? Because I know there is a gem at the end of it. There is always something really precious that I get, a joy, a learning. Sometimes that learning's not a big global concept, you know, a kind of light bulb. Sometimes it's just a knowledge about yourself.
Okay, Pauline, so we're coming to the close of the show now, and I think it's really important to close on a high note. And I know when I mentioned to you about Rumi, and you said that you can't believe that you hadn't found his work before, but
Yes.
there's a quote I would like you to read out, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just for the viewers to maybe leave them with that inspiration.
Yeah.
So could you please read that for them?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I mentioned to you, it's the quote that when I came to it, I thought, that's just how I feel, and that's just how I would love to empower everybody else to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, when you do things from your soul, you feel a river running in you, a joy. And I think that just encapsulates exactly where I'm at. But it's important for everyone to know that it's available to every single one of us. And if I could just help 1, 2, 3, 10, 150,000 feel like that, then my job here is done. That's what we're here to do, just connect with each other and help each other live the best lives that we can do.
Yeah, I think certainly from kind of looking back on my spiritual journey, and I'm probably kind of in agreement with the two of us here, that certainly from the beginning of the spiritual journey, you kind of think, wow, that person's so far ahead of me.
Yeah.
But we've had to go over the humps and bumps and things like that. And if we said to any person now, you know, what does success mean to you? And if you've got a new mum with a new baby and she just wants a night's sleep or she just wants an hour's break, if you say to any of your students, I just want to do well in my exams, if someone's doing the driving test, you know, I want to just get through my driving test. Success means something different to all of us.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what does the ultimate in success mean to you? It obviously means empowering people, inspiring and everything. So how do you intend to do that? I believe you've got a blog page, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. This is because I'm a prolific writer, I always have been.
You're head of English.
Yeah, so my blog page is called Notes on a Lazy Sunday, because I wanted it to be the kind of thing where you're just sitting with your croissant, your coffee, and you just get a 600 to 800 lines, words of wisdom that make you think throughout the rest of the week and maybe empower you and lift you throughout the week. So it's called Notes on a Lazy Sunday. It's launching on the 18th of April, and it's a great place to access more of my understanding of life and teaching, and I just hope it empowers and uplifts other people. And then a couple of weeks after that, there'll be a free book for people to download as well, which will give a little bit more detail and some practical exercises that they can put into practice in their own lives to help them towards a path of spirituality and enlightenment and just towards more joy, really.
So just remind me of the book.
Okay. The book is called Divine Whispers. Divine Whispers, which just goes back to us saying that, you know, in my experience, God, it's not a thunder crash when God speaks. When you connect to God, it's a whisper. It's a very gentle, beautiful feeling. And that'll be available on the blog page, which is Notes on a Lazy Sunday.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So thank you very, very much for attending today. Thank you for your time, your inspiration. And what I just want to say to you is it's always a pleasure to be with like-minded people. And we've changed our lives.
Yes.
And for the viewers out there, they can do that as well.
Absolutely. We're no more special or more empowered than anyone else.
No.
And it was through our trials that we came to this realisation. And if I can just help someone get there faster so they don't have to go through as much as I had to, then that's what I'm here for, to pass it on, you know, pay it forward. Yeah.
So how can people contact you, Pauline?
Well, they can contact me through the blog page, which is probably the best way, because then they get to read my words of wisdom, hopefully, and hopefully they'll be inspired as well. Or they could contact me through the show via yourself. If anyone would like some coaching, I will always get back to them. I can do group coaching, individual coaching. If anyone's going through an issue where they feel a bit stuck or they want to move forward in some way, then that's what the coaching is for. My writings are just there to inspire and help people, and I also do motivational speaking as well for groups and organisations. So any of those, they can either access the blog page, which will be, like we said, available on the 18th of April, or contact the channel.
And you're on Facebook as well? Do you use Twitter and the usual social media?
On Facebook as an individual. I have yet to put a Facebook page up because I wanted to concentrate on getting the blog pages sorted first. So if they want to contact me on Facebook, then it would be to Pauline Tomlin, and they'll find me. I'm dressed in carnival costume on the Facebook page, so yeah.
Are you on Twitter or?
Not yet, no. I'm going to be opening up a Twitter account within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So for the viewers, I just want to say I hope you thoroughly enjoyed watching Living a Dynamic Life. I hope that the two of us have inspired you to indeed live a dynamic life. One dynamic change, one dynamic life. It really is that simple. There's nothing difficult about this. If we can do it, you can do it. Thank you, and I really hope that you've enjoyed the show. I look forward to seeing you next week when I'll be interviewing somebody else who'll hopefully give you tools in the kit to move forward in life. And who knows, it may be that you too become an inspirational, motivational speaker. Thank you.